It doesn't matter how computer literate you are. If you can figure out how to turn one on and access the internet, that's about all the technical skills it takes. If you're asking the same question I asked, you're wondering why everyone doesn't do it if it's really this simple. Jerry Meadows was a plant manager in North Carolina. He now lives in Tennessee and has achieved amazing success with this business. But he almost never got started.
You know, the point is that so much of what you and I do is emotions, okay, emotional decisions. And we like to think of ourselves as logical, but really what we are is we are emotional beings that use our logic to justify what we've decided to do emotionally. Now, we don't like to admit that. We like to say, not me. I look at all the facts. Well, in fact, we really don't look at all the facts. The thing that has impressed me for years as we've worked with this business is that if you look at it from a straight logical viewpoint, you can't turn it down. But what happens is somehow, and I don't know why, but somehow here it seems more often than most places I've ever seen, immediately our emotions come into a decision as to whether we're going to look at the business closer, whether we're going to pursue it a little bit, whether we're going to go full tilt with it, okay? Right away our emotions start entering in with it rather than our logic. Because on straight logic, you can't turn this down. You can't even ignore it. You got to do something with it logically. Now, I like numbers. I like getting into numbers, engineering background and so on, so I enjoy numbers. And one of the things, the first thing that I did with Sherry was when we saw this idea, I didn't want to do it. My emotions got involved, okay? First emotion, I didn't like the person that showed it to me. What did that have to do with anything? Nothing. It's what's important is is it a good idea? Anyhow, didn't like it. Sounded too good to be true, right? You ever heard that one? Okay, have you ever heard this one? It's too rotten to be true. This sounds too rotten to be true. No, if it sounds rotten, you and I will believe it. That's why we read the newspaper. Okay, front page. Anyhow. Too good to be true. So I took it and I took the plan and I took a pad of paper and proceeded to sit at my kitchen table and work out an example to show Sherry why this wouldn't work. And I didn't use the same example they used. I used a different one because I knew the one they used worked. Of course they used the one that worked. So I used a different one. But it worked. I said, okay, well, I happened to hit on the other one that worked. So I took another piece of paper, wadded the first one up, threw it down, worked out another example. It worked too. Ripped that one up, threw it on the floor. Another one. Honest to goodness, I did this, okay? Worked that example out. That worked. I finally figured out the two examples that this business will not work. And I'm even going to tell you what they are so you can save a lot of time on this, okay? First example, you register somebody into this business with you, they do all the volume, and the next thing that you see happen is they get all of the bonus money. So it didn't work for you. Well, I thought, well, I don't like that, but it is fair, okay? Second one is, you don't register anybody in the business, or you register somebody, and neither one of you do anything, and neither one of you make any money. I didn't like that one either, but it was fair, okay? And I don't know about you, but all I was ever looking for in life was just a fair shot at life. We've been given the option to participate with some people like that. People working with us that make this sound like it. They think it's a good idea. IBM, when they looked at what we were going to do with this on the internet, they said, you know what? This sounds like a good idea. When Microsoft was approached to help pull this together, they said, you know what? This sounds like a good idea. Now, they're either dumb and lucky or smart. In either case, those are the kind of people you and I want to associate with. Well, we happen to have the right combination of a great idea with the right people. I might add the people that are working with you right here.
A brilliant idea with the right people. It just makes sense any way you look at it. However, people are still going to have their doubts. It's only natural to have questions, and questions are by no means rejections. Most of the time, people ask questions because they're interested in the business, not to put you on the spot, but to better understand the concept. Jerry Meadows answers two basic questions that all of us have asked.
Next question, will it work for me? Now, I'll tell you what is interesting to me on this question. We sit and ask, will this work for me? And we give this business a question a question that we don't even require of our current income. So, well, sure I do. I ask, will it work for me? I mean, when I go into work, I get a paycheck. I have a business that's either making me a little bit of profit or a lot of profit, or I own a business that's generating some income. Well, I make some investments that are going up in value. No, I'm not talking about will it work for me today, next week, next month. I'm talking about will it work for me long term? Because you see, when you and I ask that same question of the things most of us are currently doing, the answer is no. What we're currently doing will not work. And I say, well, geez, how do you know that, Jerry? Because statistics tell us they don't work. The facts are 95% of the people after 40 years of work end up dead, disabled, broke. Fact. Now, does that sound like it's working to you? Next question. I'm going to do this one here. How hard will it be? I'm not saying you shouldn't ask that question, but it's the wrong first question. It's the wrong first question. But I'll answer it for you. It won't be as hard as what you're doing right now. It won't require 8 hours a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week, an hour, 2 hours, when and where you can rearrange your schedule to do something towards your future. Won't be as hard as what you're doing today. And you're going to get more help than you're getting today. The people that you are working with, your team, the support team that you've got is there to help you. And there's an incentive to help you. Phenomenal plan that's set up to help you do that. You see, the highest form of a compliment is when somebody copies you, okay? And then right alongside of that is when somebody criticizes you. That means he's finally getting big enough that somebody notices, okay? And we now have reached a state in this business that we'll hit over $1 billion this year in volume, way over, good growth, okay? But with that comes the opportunity to get criticized. If you're going to move ahead in life, you're going to get criticism. Everybody in the world, listen to this now, everybody in the world has critics. It doesn't. Now, you might think, well, the answer to that is, well, don't do anything, no, then you don't get criticized. Absolutely not. If you do nothing, somebody will criticize you. They're going to criticize you for the way you do nothing, or the fact that you do nothing. Well, if you're going to get criticized anyhow, you might as well keep doing. At least you can move ahead. And don't worry about it. One thing we have found is that you can't hear the critics as well when you're moving forward. There are going to be people that are going to bring up, and it's happened in the past, you might as well plan on it's going to happen again. They're going to bring up what somebody else told them. I heard. They tell me. Who the heck are all these people? You can't find them. They duck and run, okay? Whether it's referring to people or articles in a newspaper, magazines, the internet, those gutless, faceless people that won't even put their real names on the bathroom wall. Newspaper articles, magazines, it doesn't matter if it was a radio talk show, or a TV talk show, or a TV broadcast. You've got to decide ahead of time, am I doing the right thing? And once that's concluded, you say, are there going to be people criticizing? Yeah, but you can't let your self-doubt create in there. You say, well, what about when they criticize somebody I don't know too well? You got to kind of come to the conclusion, do I believe the people that I know that are working with me are basically good people? And you know what? They are. Those critics that are out there a lot of times stand on the sideline and say, well, yeah, but what percent of the people actually make it and become successful? I don't know the answer to that question. It's certainly not the people that become silver producers is the definition of success. Some of you in this room would still feel like you're not successful. There are a lot of people that are not in this room today that would think you're extremely successful. Some of you think you are successful. It's your definition. When a person gets into this business for a washer or a dryer or riding lawnmower and they quit, were they successful? Well, by whose definition? I don't know. Do I think they were successful? No. But I'm not the one that got started for just a washer and a dryer. They are. We have to let people reach their own level of success or desire. And you know what? I honestly believe that's all any of you ever asked for. Not a guarantee. Just a chance. Just one time. I'd like to have a chance at something big. Because if I had that chance, I wouldn't let anybody, anything, take it away from me.
We understand that we're reaching a point of success today that we're going to get noticed by others. And in today's society, negative sells. From the TV to the internet to the magazines you see in the grocery store checkout line, entire industries have been developed to sell you the negative on every subject imaginable. Everyone has critics. In fact, you don't have to look very hard to find negative opinions on pretty much any topic, organization, or business. These critics usually have their own agendas, and many times they are competitors. I notice the exact same thing in football, as a player and a broadcaster. The more successful a team is, the more it gets beat up in the media. Nobody cares about the last place team. More often than not, the amount of criticism a person or idea receives is in direct proportion to the amount of success it's experiencing.